Okay, so here is your trigger guard plate. You're probably watching this video because it isn't complete like this. You may have disassembled this for putting one of our hand guards on, or maybe our sear kit or something similar, and it simply just fell apart on you. So let's go ahead and start making our oopsies. Well, the hammer just fell off. Let's set that aside. Let's go ahead and look at this big staple right here. This big staple is typically the thing that falls out. A lot of times you've got a little bit of grace with it. You know, not all guns make it want to fall apart on you, but let's just say that this one did. Boom. All right, so there's the staple, there's the transfer bar, those just fell apart. Let's go ahead and do some other stuff. Let's take our sear spring out, set it aside. Let's take this big stirrup, let's drop it out. Man, we're really having a bad day, aren't we? Let's go ahead and take the sear out. Let's push that pin out here. So that goes out. Boom. Man, like I said, still having a really bad day with these parts. Now this one right here, this typically, in all my experience, this doesn't fall out, but if it does, there is a spring underneath it and a pin that holds it in. Let's go in further disrepair. If yours hasn't fallen this far apart, please don't go this far. So this right here is a bar. That bar is where our lever detent. We have a detent right here in the lever. That's where it locks up. If you've taken yours apart and your lever doesn't lock up, then you need to look for a pin about like that. Let's set it aside. Now, our trigger, in the past, my triggers really haven't fallen out, but let's say that we have that oopsies moment where the trigger itself falls out. Now we've got a trigger guard plate. The only thing I haven't removed is this little bar here, that detent and spring. So now our trigger guard plate is in as far disrepair as I have ever seen one. So let's go ahead. Let's take our trigger. It drops in from the top here. Let's go ahead and set it in there. Let's take the pin for that trigger. Everything's going to go through what would be considered the ejection port side. Let's line that up. Let's push that in. We've got that. So here is the pin that holds our lever detent latched. It goes in this foremost hole, the forward hole here. Let's go ahead and pop it in. It sits in there kind of tight. That is not bad. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our sear. Now our sear, this one is a Ranger Point Precision sear. This one has a no creep lighter pull. It is very nice. We're going to set it in there just like that. So now we're going to take that pin and we're going to push it in. Now it's time for this little loopy horseshoe. Now this is going to go in there just as oriented. So we have got this little plunger right here. It is going to line up with this little pod right here on our sear. This is going to hold the sear spring. So to reinstall this, it goes in just like that. So there's a little groove right there in the back that just slides right into it. Super simple. Now let's go ahead and look at our transfer bar. We've got it. We've got this little staple. So let's go ahead and start our little staple. So the little staple is going to sit right there in the bottom of the trigger. You see that right there? Then we're going to come up and we're going to hit this little horseshoe. And all this time we're holding our tongue just right. You got to get this all aligned just right. So now here we go. We've got our staple started right there in the trigger. And then we've got it started in that little horseshoe. Now we're going to take our transfer bar. Now this transfer bar is going to be installed up in a channel in the trigger later. But for right now, we're going to lay it just like this. This is the orientation. So we're going to take that, push it through that transfer bar. Why am I having problems with focusing? But here we go. We've got that staple pushed into that transfer bar. Now this whole thing should go ahead and line up. You can take, and if you need to, you can grab that transfer bar and give it a little wiggle, and that'll help you get that staple pushed all the way through. Now we need our sear spring here. This sear spring is going to go in place on those two pods that we spoke about earlier. There's two little bumps right there. So we're going to take this sear spring and we are going to put it right here on the bottom, and we're going to flip it up into there just like that. So here is our freshly reassembled trigger guard plate. Now we're going to leave this with this side up because we do not want gravity to hurt us again. That's what happened in the first place. So let's take our hammer and our stirrup assembly here. Now if you're going to look at the front of that hammer, you're going to see a pin. Underneath that pin is a channel. Right here is a transfer bar. That transfer bar is going to sit in that channel. What you're going to do is you're going to slide it in just like that. Now I want you to look at this hole and this hole. We're going to slide those down until those line up. Now that is ready to go inside of your receiver. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have our stirrup downward. We're going to have this little rod right here downward. We're going to have our hammer upwards. And we're going to bring this into the receiver. Now you're going to have to hold your tongue just right. What you're trying to do is you're bringing the rear of the hammer. Your hammer spur is going to come through this groove in the rear of the receiver. So now we're going to just take and bring all of this up into the place here. And normally I do this from the other angle. I'm doing this so that you can see it for the camera. So that's the only reason I had any hitches. So we've got our hammer in place. Our trigger guard is sitting in place as it is. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our hammer screw. So this hammer screw is going to go through and pop in just like that. We're going to take the appropriate flathead screwdriver. We're going to put it in. And now some of you guys, if you have an X model 357, it takes a little bit more coercion. It seems like those just have a little tiny alignment issue as that screw goes in. Sometimes you just give it a little bump on the back of the screwdriver, nothing forceful, but that just did that. So let's roll this over. We've got a hole right here at the front. We're going to take that screw, we're going to put it right there in that trigger guard plate, and we're going to start it by finger. We don't want to cross thread it. Now let's run it home. Boom, there we go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our spring on our hammer. So we've got our beehive spring and this funky looking little stirrup here. Now if you have a hollow screwdriver, these being that hollow 1/4 inch drive, I'm going to show you a trick. So let's slide our beehive on just like that. Now we're going to take that larger hole that's in the bottom, we're going to take it and put it on here like this, and then we're going to hold it just like that. We're going to take this finger and push up, and then we're going to take our screwdriver handle and latch that in. Now you see how that just sat in that groove right there, and then this flat part just sat on the top. So let's go ahead and take our lever. Our lever is going to be really easy. We'll lay the hammer back. We're going to push our bolt back about halfway just like that, and then we're going to take our lever and push it in at that angle. So now you may have the factory takedown screw. I've got a Ranger Point Precision toolless takedown screw here. Let's go ahead and put that in place. Screw that down, then move the lever forward, backwards. What we should have is a latch. That one bar that I showed you, that if you don't put it back in, your lever will just kind of flop because there's nothing to latch against. This is successful. And simply enough, we're just going to put our buttstock back on, and then we're going to take our Ranger Point Precision takedown screw. We've got a buttstock takedown screw. We're going to pop that right there in and run that home. Okay, now everything's assembled. Final check. Lever goes forward, lever comes backwards. Let's just lower our hammer down really simply. Lock her back. Yeah, we're good to go.